15 on Monday, February 25th, 2019, and the Carroll City Council meeting is now in session. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please note everyone is in attendance except for Councilman Haley. Our first item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which is approval of the minutes of the February 11th meeting, approval of bills and claims. There are 3 licenses and permits. The first one is a new Class C liquor license, 8-month, with outdoor service and Sunday sales at Golf Services LLC. The second one is a renewal of a Class C beer permit, Carroll Can Redemption. The third one is the renewal of the Class E liquor license, including native wine, carry-out beer, and Sunday sales, Casey's General Store, number 3082. And finally, we have a FFA farm lease agreement for 2019. If there is no other discussion, I'll look for a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, we'll go ahead and vote, please.
Seaman? Yes. Dirks?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Cobb?
Yes.
Base? Yes. Motion is approved.
Are there any oral requests and communications from anyone in the audience with regards to things not on the agenda? Seeing none. Next item was ordinances, and it's the City of Carroll Urban Revitalization Plan. And Mike, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As the Council has been aware, we've been considering the creation of an urban revitalization area in order to provide tax abatement for property improvements in the City of Carroll. Previously, on December 10th, the Council approved a resolution determining the necessity and fixing a public hearing date for consideration of the adoption of the Carroll Urban Revitalization Plan. The Council held that public hearing on the proposed plan on January 14th. One written comment against the adoption of the plan was presented, and that was included in the staff memo tonight. 2 individuals did ask questions about the plan at the public hearing on January 14th, but did not object to the adoption of the plan itself. No petition was received requesting a second public hearing within the 30-day required deadline after the January 14th public hearing. Therefore, the Council at this point can consider adoption of a resolution adopting the proposed plan included in attachment G in the plan, and consideration of the adoption of an ordinance designating certain areas in an urban revitalization area included as attachment J in the plan. Currently as drafted, the proposed plan would expire on July 1st of 2029, unless it's terminated earlier or extended by the City Council. The proposed plan provides tax exemption for residential and multifamily residential properties within the urban revitalization areas with the following schedule. Under option 1, all qualified real estate assessed as multi-residential if the multi-residential property consists of 3 or more separate living units with at least 75% of the space used as residential purposes, shall receive an exemption from taxation on the first $75,000 of actual value added per living quarter by the improvements for a period of 5 years. And then option 2 is all qualified real estate assessed as residential or multi-residential with fewer than 3 separate living quarters shall receive an exemption from taxation on the first $75,000 of actual value added by the improvements for a period of 5 years. With that, the Council and Mayor are asked to consider adoption of the resolution adopting the proposed plan and consideration of adopting the ordinance designating certain areas of the City of Carroll, Iowa as an urban revitalization area and the proposed Carroll Urban Revitalization Plan. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the Council may have.
I just had a couple people ask, to explain it a little better, and what's I did, they were fine. One was scared about it being blighted and told him, no, it's not being blighted. So, yeah, otherwise I had nothing.
Nothing? If that's the case, I'll look for a motion to adopt the proposed plan for revitalization.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. If there isn't any other discussion, we'll go ahead and vote.
Base?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
And I'll need a motion to adopt the ordinance.
I'll make a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Wait.
Waive the three readings.
And
Yeah,
waive
that's
the
right.
three
Okay, so first you would like to waive the 3 readings?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
No other discussion on the waived readings, we'll go ahead and vote.
Base?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
And then you can have your motion to adopt.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Second.
Motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, we'll go ahead and vote.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Base?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is resolutions. And it is 5:21, and we'll open a public hearing. This is in regards to the fire pumper truck and street improvements, not to exceed $1,560,000 general obligation capital loan notes, Series 2019A. And Laura, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, this is the time for the public hearing on the proposed not to exceed $1,560,000 general obligation capital loan notes to issue debt for the purpose of a new fire pumper truck at approximate cost of $460,000, and then the remainder amount would go towards the street improvements for 2019. The debt issuance is essential corporate and is anticipated that it'll be sold after July 1st and being proposed to be repaid as a 10-year repayment. Our fiscal 20 budget proposal that we have been working on these last couple months does include an estimate of principal and interest to be repaid and has been incorporated into our proposed fiscal 2020 tax levy. In order to include this amount into our tax levy before we actually have issued the debt, we need to hold this public hearing, approve a resolution that institute proceedings to take additional action, and then approve another resolution, which we've always called, or kind of air quotes here, the pre-levy resolution that gives the authority to actually ask for the taxes on this. The notice of the public hearing was published on Thursday, February 14th, in the Daily Times Herald, which is in accordance with the requirements of state code. So tonight, I'll also mention that I have not received any, or had not received any written comments or oral comments in the office prior to this regarding this public hearing. So tonight is a chance for the public hearing tonight, and then council to take action on the 2 resolutions.
Any comments from the public? If not, any other discussion? Otherwise, it is 5:23, and we'll close the public hearing. And then I will need a motion to institute the proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed $1,560,000 general obligation capital loan note series 2019A.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, we'll go ahead and vote, please.
Base?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. And then we'll need a motion to authorize the levy for the tax of the payment thereof.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second, and if there's no other discussion, we'll go ahead and vote, please.
Dirks?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Base?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. The next item is the street resurfacing 2019, and it is 5:24, and we'll open a public hearing. And Randy, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On February 15th, the plan specifications, former contract, and estimate of cost for the street resurfacing 2019 project were filed. The plans detail the construction necessary for a street resurfacing project with hot mix asphalt overlay. And it is on portions of Bluff Street, West Street, East Street, Crawford Street, First, and High Service Pump Station parking lot. The specifications for this project are the statewide urban standard specification with our local supplemental specification attached. Form of contract is the SUDAT standard sample form, and the estimated cost is $1,252,754. With that estimate of cost, the total current construction cost estimate is $1,364,854. The proposed budget includes funding identified for this project in the amount of $1,505,790. Project schedule includes receipt of bids on March 14th, and then presentation of those bids to the council on their regular meeting on March 26th. There was a public meeting held on February 20th. We did invite everyone, all property owners adjacent to the project, which ended up being 150 invitations, and we did have 4 people attend. So that was held. There were a few comments, mostly those people wanted to know just how it impacted their properties. And it's a standard, or pretty much standard, resurfacing project. There's some sidewalk work. Actually, there's 87 ped ramps are constructed in this project, so that advances your transition plan by 87. And then some concrete patching, some drive replacement, and mostly asphalt milling and overlay. Unless there are any questions, I'd recommend approval of the resolution adopting those plans for the street resurfacing 2019 project.
This was just gonna be one contractor? Is
Yes.
that what you're thinking?
It's a general contract bid.
Not like we'd split up Third Street before. Like-
Right,
Yeah,
right.
okay.
That's, this one is prepared as a single general
Single
contract.
contract, okay.
Yes.
When do those bids go out,
They're on the market right now and will receive them on March 14th. So they'll have been out, probably 45 days by then.
These are some of the streets we were gonna do last year, but.
Yes, this
Okay.
includes all those streets that were in last year's project that wasn't awarded, plus a couple of additional streets. Mhm.
When you receive bids back, do you typically get them sooner than this or right at the last minute? What would?
Oh, when contractors submit them?
Yes,
Last minute.
last minute.
More likely than not,
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
Because they're waiting to see what they have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Any questions from the public? Any other questions from the council? If not, it is 5:28, and we'll close the public hearing. And I will need a motion to accept the plan specifications in form of contract and estimated cost for the street resurfacing 2019 project.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, we'll go ahead and vote.
Fleshner.
Yes.
Dirks.
Yes.
Bass. Yes. Seaman. Yes. Cox.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. Let's see. The next item is the Middle Raccoon River Streambed Stabilization Professional Services Agreement. And Randy, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The proposed budget includes an expenditure for the construction of a stream bed stabilization structure in the Middle Raccoon River. You'll recall, I believe this has been discussed previously. We're proposing to build a structure to protect an exposed sanitary sewer line that crosses the river. Earlier, there was a study that compared the cost mostly and advisability of either lowering that sewer, which could not be done because of head restriction, or building a pump station, which can be done, but is tremendously expensive, or constructing a stabilization structure to permit the silting of the river over the top of this currently exposed sewer. So in order to begin that, we've discussed an engineering services proposal with JEO Consulting Group, and that proposal is attached to your memorandum, but it includes a scope of work necessary to get this project to bidding. And that's a survey, preliminary design. Environmental review is pretty extensive in this project. Actually, it appears we may be within the critical habitat of the Topeka shiner, so we have to protect that in this river. Final design and then bidding. So the total cost of that is $39,850, plus a little bit of time we'll need from JEO for construction services, which will mostly be some general staking. Our in-house personnel will monitor the construction on a daily basis. Unless there are any questions, I'd recommend passage of the resolution approving the agreement with JEO for services related to the Middle Raccoon River streambed stabilization project.
Hey, Randy, do we know yet, or would we find out in the study how long they anticipate that silt to cover it to the point of where we're okay with it?
No, they wouldn't be able to determine that, and it's not something we usually determine. We know that it happens. It's a matter of this backs up water, and I'm sure the amount of rain, the runoff in the Middle Raccoon River watershed is pretty heavily laden with silt. I mean, we can tell the color of the river when it rains. So it takes time to do, but it does over a long period of time. And one thing this will do in the interim, even if it doesn't cover the silt, at least it'll protect, some protection of mostly like logs going down the river and breaking that sewer. And that's what we're really concerned about.
How much of that sewer is exposed?
There's about 30 feet of it approximately exposed across the river. And it's, in high water, it's submerged, but the channel bottom is below the bottom of the pipe. So in low water times,
That's when it's really
you can
steep.
see the pipe across the river.
Okay.
And actually, it was built, I can't remember the year, it's been quite a while ago, but at that point, it was, the plans indicate that it had about 4 feet of cover on it. So that river has degraded by 5 feet plus through the years.
How long has it been exposed for? Just talking like the last year or two, or is it?
Well, we have been aware of it for probably about the last 2 years.
Okay,
We weren't aware of it before.
before that.
What's that pipe constructed out of?
That's cast iron crossing the river, so it's protected itself so far.
The companies that do this, is it a normal contractor or are they specialized?
Now, there's a few that do this pretty regularly. In western Iowa, this is a pretty common occurrence because of the soil types we have. And there are a few contractors that do a lot of these for counties. But we have done 2 of them in Carroll. Now, there's one in Rolling Hills Park, and there's one east of Grant Road, out down by the water treatment plant. So those are stream bed stabilization structures. They were done by a general earthwork contractor. PCI was the general on those. So there's several that are capable of it. And this has the opportunity, we've discussed this, there's an organization in western Iowa called Hungry Canyons Alliance. And it's called Hungry Canyons because of the degradation of Iowa's, or western Iowa soils in these stream beds. And they receive funding from the federal government for their operation. They issue grants for constructing these stream bed stabilization structures. So they have verbally indicated that this would be eligible for application for some grant funding. So we don't know how much it would be eligible for, but certainly when the plans are completed, it'll be submitted for their review for funding.
Will they be able to tell you if that Topeka Shiner is involved or not?
Well, it appears that we have to check. Carroll County is one of the critical designated areas for Topeka Shiner. There are some procedures that you have to follow in construction in rivers in those areas. Part of it's avoiding the spawning time of the shiner. And then you have to, your erosion control is a standard issue anyway in construction, but it becomes much more critical to keep the silt out of the river when you're under construction, because that can choke out the aquatic life, including Topeka Shiner.
Any other questions for Randy? If not, I need a motion to approve the agreement with JEO Consulting Group Incorporated for professional services for the Middle Raccoon Riverbed Stream Bed Stabilization Project.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, we'll go ahead and vote, please.
Seaman?
Yes.
Schlesner? Yes. Cots?
Yes.
Bays? Yes. Dirks?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. The final resolution this evening is application for registration of looks like a trademark. Listen, mark that. Trademark for Merchants Park. And Mike, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The Carroll Athletic Association has been working to create trademarking for the Carroll Merchants name, and as part of that, they've looked at Merchants Park, which obviously the city owns, and have worked to create an application for the council's consideration that would place the Merchants Park name under trademark in the benefit of the city of Carroll. In simple terms, the purpose of a trademark is simply to prevent unfair competition by protecting the use of certain symbols, words, and logos from public domain and in the benefit of the organization. Now, the Carroll Athletic Association has prepared the application, and they are willing to pay the fees necessary to make that registration. I mean, notice Barry Bruner is here, certainly can speak to that tonight. But recommendation is the council consider adopting a resolution approving the application of a registration mark, which is the technical term, for Merchants Park.
So just Merchants Park, just that word.
Right.
What about Carroll Merchants? Have you looked at that too, or
Yes.
the name of the team?
For the last probably 85 to 90 years, there have been various teams known as the Carroll Merchants. In the past 70 years, since the stadium's been built, it's been known as Merchants Park, and I think Carroll Stadium for 15, 20 years, and then the council approved before the restoration the name back to Merchants Park. Carroll Athletic Association is a strong backer of the Merchants team. We've had great success the last 3 years, and we want to make sure that we can protect that mark, that registration. So we've talked about it in the board, the Carroll Athletic Association board, that it would be important to register that mark, at least under state law. Federal law is a heck of a lot more complicated and a lot more expensive, gives you better protection, but the state mark's a good bit of proof if we have to fight for it, if someone tries to take it or use it. We have a 5-year registration, and we've applied for the protection for the Carroll Merchants, the team. That would protect us in the event Donnie, who is the organizer of these town teams, would somehow want to use that name and take it someplace else. or start another team under that name, and we'd be able to protect our Carroll Merchants team. And as part of that, that's why I've come to the city and asked for the protection of the Merchants Park name as part of the Carroll Merchants team, and that's what this registration is. The attorney in Des Moines that we're working with, in fact, it's a firm that my son is a part of, the Dickinson firm. She said we'd have a real strong argument even now, and we should, even if we wouldn't do these things, put a TM trademark by everything merchant, or everything Merchants Park. We'd have a common law argument that we've been using it for 1,000 years, and we should have the protection. But this is a real good way to protect it, gives us more to stand on. And again, the cost will run approximately $1,500 to $2,000 for both marks, and we're gonna pay for those.
So who owns it then?
The city.
The city owns it?
Yeah, the city owns it. The Carroll Athletic owns the Carroll Merchants name, we'll mark that, but the city, since they own the park, will own the mark too.
So if there's an infringement, who enforces it?
It would be, well, if it's the park, it'd have to be the city, under the city's name.
Gotcha.
If it's the team, it'd have to be the Carroll Athletic.
Okay.
So do we have to sign off on every T-shirt that's printed then, or?
We'll have that TM on there. I
Yeah.
don't want you.
But-
That was something I noticed about 3 years ago. I said to Barry to kind of start this process. I went in the graphic edge, the edge two, and there was a Carroll Merchants t-shirts being sold.
Right.
It wasn't coming to the city, so,
Mhm.
you know, that's just something to really think about.
Yeah.
And we need to grab a hold of it. And
Well, then my question is, and when someone wants to do this, what's their procedure then? Do you have an application to use?
To use the Carroll
name?
Merchants?
What will happen?
Technically, we could enforce it. Yeah, we're not going to.
Okay, so we don't need to, unless something got out of hand,
Right.
it's not a concern.
And you'll be hearing from the merchants, you know, Jim Allen and Chris Whitaker, John Parent. The season is developing tremendously. The game sponsorships are flying out the window. The main thing we want to do is talk to the fire chief to see if we can have some more fireworks, but I don't know how that'll go. That's the toughest part of the season. But we'll be back.
Are there any other questions with regards to the trademark application or registration of mark for Merchants Park? If not, I will need a motion to approve the application for registration of mark for Merchants Park.
So moved. Second?
There's a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, we'll go ahead and roll vote, please.
Cots?
Yes.
Base? Yes. Seaman?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Fleshman?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you.
And, excuse me, could I have a copy of that resolution and that document? Because I'll mail it in with ours.
Yeah, we'll get.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the Carroll Recreation Center Gym Curtain, report of bid opening, and Jack, please.
Thank you, Mayor. On February 8th, we had 3 bids at the time of the bid opening, and in the memorandum, you see 3 bids. I just ask you to note the first one is quite a bit lower than the next lowest. That was for the curtain that didn't meet the specifications we're looking for, but it did not include a price for installing, going up on the rafters, up on the ceiling, and installing this, and that's nothing that we want our staff to do or we have the equipment to do. So that first bid, I would request that that one gets eliminated, and then look at the second one. That one is the curtain alongside of an install for $12,154. Our budget is $15,000. The only other expense we will have with that will be a little bit of electrical work from the curtain back to where we want to lower and raise the switch back there. We believe Andy Snyder, our electrician, can do this, but it will be a conversation with the low bid to determine, but we anticipate Andy doing the work, so there shouldn't be any additional cost other than maybe a few parts or things to connect that. If we need to hire an electrician, that would be brought back if you so desire. But I'm very confident that Andy will be able to do it. So at this point, I'd ask the mayor and council to consider and approve the bid from Iowa Direct Equipment, a Cedar Falls company, for the total bid price of $12,154.
When are they gonna install that, Jack?
I think it was about 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah, they'll work on it with our schedule, and we'll try to pick a day that.
Because it just, so it didn't interfere with, I think, the dance studios in the first part of May,
Yeah,
should be okay. I just got all of April, yeah.
yeah.
Very good. Any other questions for Jack?
Hey Jack, is this a new curtain?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, we've never done this before, but we've just had so many instances over the years. Boy, it would be nice to have a curtain to divide things. Track control, balls moving around, volleyball, different things. So we anticipate, maybe some different activities and things that we haven't done before.
If there aren't any other questions for Jack, I need a motion to approve the bid from Iowa Direct Equipment, Cedar Falls, Iowa, for the total bid price of $12,154.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, we'll go ahead and roll the vote.
Base?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Cots?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. The next item on the reports is the Carroll Recreation Center Building Improvements Committee, and Jack, please.
Thank you, Mayor. And I did give you a new update of the list that we're proposing for your consideration tonight. This is one of your council's priorities from the December 4th, 2018 meeting session. And one of the first things we want to do is create a committee to help us with selection that we will bring back to the council of the architect firm that we're looking at. And then very similar to the rec center master plan, the rec center improvements that we've done before, the aquatic center, we've had a committee help with picking features of the area, looking, and this could include maybe touring some other facilities to get some ideas. We just really want to bounce ideas off of the committee. As you can see, the committee includes the activity directors from the schools, Parks and Rec, cultural board members, school swim team coach, Carroll swim team coach. If Deb wasn't able to be there, Deb Danner from the school could fill in for that. And then Joel Lundstrom, Rhonda Mart, that's the additional one. She was on vacation last week, so she got back to me over the weekend. Jessica Morton, Lois New, and Dr. Greg Perkins. So it's a variety of the committee. I think it's a real good committee. They're all excited to be part of this and have a passion for the rec center. Then, of course, the council, I've talked to all of you, Misty, Laverne, and Carolyn, part of the committee. Then we anticipate Mike and I and Joel and Jess being at the meetings too, to try to answer questions and different things. So it'll be a good committee. We hope to start in the next week. We've gotten the RFQs back. I have made the first run through them, looking at them, and we'll get these out to the committee members tomorrow, and then we'll have a meeting shortly to follow.
How many of the RFQs did you get back?
5.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Sent out 7 or 8. Excellent firms.
Any other questions for Jack? If not, I need a motion to approve the list in this memorandum to the Carroll Recreation Center Building Improvements Committee.
So moved. It's us.
There's a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, we'll go ahead and vote.
Base?
Yes.
Seaman? Yes. Dirk?
Yes.
Fleischner?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. I trust everyone's read the committee reports. If there are any questions in the monthly activity reports, I thank the Public Works Department for the Streets Department for all they've done. I know it was a lot. They were busy moving a lot of snow last week. Must have been anticipating 10 inches they got this week. So hopefully there's no more snow. If there are any comments from the council? Comments from the city manager? Nothing? Not, I need a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. We'll go.
Cox?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Seaman? Fleischner?
Yes.
Base? Yes. We are adjourned.
Thank you very much.
He is,
Yep, yep, all right.